One Piece, the manga series made into a TV show. That's what I'm going to review in this episode 1. And we're going to talk about one specific scene a little bit later. But to start with, let's just talk about the beginning. What did I think of it story development wise or anything like that? Now, it should be known, I have zero knowledge of the manga series. I don't know when it started. I don't know how far along the TV series is within the manga storyline. I know absolutely zero about this other than people have been talking about it and saying it's a really well done show. So I thought I'll give it a watch, see what it's actually like and what do I think of it. Now, I do like this particular character on the screen, Monkey D. Luffy, I would pronounce it, but okay. Regardless of the pronunciation, he does keep telling us a few times within the show that he's going to be the biggest pirate king in the world or something like that, and or best, whatever, and that not all pirates are bad and not the pirates he knows. And of course we do have some flashbacks to where he gathered some of his philosophy as well, the people that gave him philosophy. Now, he does drop some little pearl wisdoms here, and he does ask some interesting questions of some of the characters, which I thought was great. And things are explained, show don't tell. In other words, when we see that he's kind of rubbery, we're not told how it happened, we're shown how it happened, which is great storytelling. Show don't tell. There was no lengthy periods where I was just dull and bored, thinking, come on, get on with it. Where's this going? Everything seemed to be paced fantastically. The dialogue was great. The acting was not cardboard. I thought the acting was good for the dialogue. Everything was just great. Yes, if you think that there's a pirate woman riding around in a ship with a big heart painted on it and she has everyone wearing pink hair and all sorts of weird things like that, look, at that point, and if you accept that someone can be made of rubber, then you're already suspending your belief in reality a little bit. So you have to take some things at face value in that case, because that's just the new world that you live in. So in that sense, those elements are kind of believable, even though you might think in other circumstances that's kind of not a believable thing. But having said that, I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't have a problem that the pirate lady was the boss of the pirate ship and she would crack skulls. I didn't have a problem with that. She was using weapons, and if the same is with all leaders and rulers, if no one obeys, then no one rules. If everyone obeys one person, then that person is the ruler. The tyrant, in this case a bad pirate, is not the one that does the damage. It's the people that obey the tyrant, or obey the pirate in this case, her crew. Single-handedly, she can't take over anything, but her crew obey her and they do her actions. So in that sense, it's just a standard power example. Those who obey are the ones who do the damage of the person that they obey, on behalf of the person they obey, whether it's a tyrant, a dictator, or in this case, a pirate, someone in charge of the ship. So that's just a standard power dynamic. So I didn't really have too much of a problem with that. We have it in our modern world. Everyone gives away their power to someone who they obey. Like I said, if no one obeys, then no one rules. Okay, so having said that, Luffy is all about following your dreams and so on and so forth. And he's a pretty positive person, and I like that. Now, acting was great, dialogue was great, and I want to touch on one particular scene, one great scene, and it's this one where he's met this woman and she's on a quest to steal the map, and he's on a quest to steal the map, and they've met up with each other. And in this particular scene, she's dressed as a Marine walking down the hallway with him. And that whole scene, in terms of the directing, the camera, the lighting, so you can see they've got one side of her face lit up more than the other. The camera angle. Now have a close look at this camera angle. It's not at her eye level. It's a little bit down. So when we see who she's looking at, we also see that the camera is down looking up at that person. And then when we see them both from his angle kind of thing, the camera is higher, kind of looking down at them to give us the impression that he stands over them. But not only that, it's in this particular thing where the still comes from, it's the way her eye movements go from his face to somewhere else and back somewhere else and then back at him. And I just thought, yep, that's where they would look. And when they're walking down the hallway, it would have been an interesting or harder scene to actually film. When you watch it, you don't really think anything of it. But they start off a distance, then they're walking towards the camera, then the camera's following them, then it stops and pans over as they dart off to the side. Now, what's interesting about that is the focus puller of the camera has to keep them in focus the whole time while they're going from far away towards the camera. Then when the camera starts moving, you're always going to have that little play of going in and out of focus, and yet the focus puller has to maintain focus that whole time so that we don't notice them, then stop and dart off to the side. And that happened a couple of times, where once they've darted into an office, into a room, and another time they just darted to the side of the wall. And then we get a different camera angle. So we can see the different camera angles of this one looking at this scene, then from the other one where they've darted off from the wall. That whole scene, in terms of the camera, the use of the camera, the movement of the camera angles, where the actors were looking. So when the camera is showing two actors and they're facing each other, and then one of them is looking down the hallway, clearly there's a camera right there in the hallway. But in this case, she's looking to see if someone's coming because Luffy doesn't seem to care. So she's looking more so than anything. And it's great because it's like the camera's not even there, the way that she moves her eyes to look around and then back to him and somewhere else. And I just thought it was a really good scene to exemplify how detailed some of the behavior and the movements can be that the director gets out of the characters or the actors. Now, I'm sure that some of the actors are doing that off their own bat, but if not, and the director said, right, do this, have a beat, then look here, then look over there, and then look back, look at this one, then look back at him. Just even the direction of where the eyes were looking, I just thought the scene was a great scene in itself of just walking down the hallway. It doesn't seem like much. If you've seen the series, throw this scene up again and then watch it from a movie making or from a film creation point of view about all the little tiny elements that went in to make this scene what it was, from the lighting, the eye movements, the camera angles, the camera movement within that whole scene. I just thought it was a great piece to study. If you're in film school, study that. It was a great piece. So overall, thoroughly enjoyable. I didn't sit there once cringing, rolling my eyes, wishing for it to hurry up or anything. I just enjoyed it as a good primer, having not known anything about this universe at all. As I needed to know things, it came into play, and other things I didn't need to know, I weren't told, or I could figure out with ease within the show because I was shown these things and I wasn't told these things. Hey, if you've seen it though, let me know what you think down below.